Okay, so thank you, Chairman. So the title of the talk is Application of Fast Field Cycling NMR Relaxation to Porous Material and Biological Sample. This work has been made at Phoenix Lab in Paris. And I would like to thank Robert Bryant in University of Virginia, Dominique Petit, Charles Coulon in Montpellier, Pierre Levitz in Phoenix, and Benjamin Nico from Total. So the outline of this lecture will be in two parts. First of all, as usual, I will introduce the basics of fast field cycling NMR relaxometry of liquids in bulk and pores. And then I will present three applications: cement-based material, petroleum industry, rock cores, crude oils, and so on, and biological sample, vesicle protein, and biological tissues. So I will start with the basics of fast field cycling NMR relaxometry of bulk liquids. And NMR, so usually in NMR, you have a two, for proton, for instance, you have two-level system, spin 1/2. And in a magnetic field, you have a Larmor frequency omega-0. And with the radio frequency, you introduce transition. And as the signal is proportional to the difference of population in these two levels, if you have only the radio frequency, you go to saturation and no signal. So there is something else between these two levels, some other transition coming from the coupling with the lattice. And you should know that NMR spin relaxation is not spontaneous as it is for optical spectroscopy, but stimulated with the coupling with the magnetic noise induced by molecular motion, internal motion, translational, rotation, and exchange that introduce a spectral density. And for a given correlation time that match exactly the Larmor frequency, you have transition in the other sense that makes the possibility to observe the NMR signal. So relaxometry is crucial to observe NMR. Therefore, because here in this technique, we vary the magnetic field. Usually we decrease the magnetic field. So we increase the correlation time. And therefore, measuring the frequency dependence of T1, longitudinal relaxation, provides the primary measure of molecular dynamics over a very large range of time scale, usually from a few picoseconds to 20 microseconds. Now, the main interest of my talk would be to apply this technique to liquids confinement in pores, especially in micropores. And so remember that we have this conservation relation. The product of Larmor frequency and correlation time is 1. So the idea with this fast field cycling technique by Stellar, for instance, is to decrease the magnetic field, then correlatively you increase the correlation time. But also, when you decrease the magnetic field, you enlarge also the range of length scale explored by the fluid diffusion over the pore diameter. And if you remember, for diffusive liquid, the mean square displacement is proportional to the time. So the length of diffusion which is proportional to the square root of the diffusivity multiplied by the correlation time. As the correlation time is proportional to the inverse of Larmor frequency, so the idea, when you decrease the frequency, you enlarge drastically the length scale of diffusion. And if you consider a pore size of D, for instance, and molecule inside, and if you decrease sufficiently the Larmor frequency, you have the possibility to enlarge the length of diffusion, and that corresponds exactly to the pore size. So in this sense, you can observe from the surface dynamic. So that's the main advantage of this technique is even if the pores are not completely filled, you can have information on the pore surface dynamics of complex liquid just by observing the NMRD profile at very low frequency. So that's very important. So that's the first example I will to introduce. The simplest example is here is the bulk liquid. For instance, water or oil. Oil is here is dodecane. And in that case, you observe no frequency dependence. The water is 0.5 seconds usually due to the presence of oxygen that it is dissolved in the system. And the oil relaxes more than water. And the ratio of factor 2 here, the ratio of these two rates of relaxation is inversely proportional to the rate of diffusivity. And the rate of the diffusion coefficient for a Stokes-Einstein relation is proportional to the inverse of molecular size. So that explains the factor 2, because the water is 3 angstrom, for instance, the size, and the dodecane is twice larger. So in that case, you have only one correlation time, usually the rotational or the translational correlation time, and you have fast and local molecular motion, no frequency dependence. So each time you observe no frequency dependence over these 3 or 4 orders of magnitude, you are in presence of a bulk. So now, what is interesting, if you put the same liquid, but in carbonate rock are very important because they represent 70% of the reservoir in the world. And in that case, what you observe, several things. The first thing, if you look on the y-axis, instead of 0.5 or 1 second, you have an order of magnitude larger, reaching 14 seconds minus 1. And also, a second observation is now water relaxes more than oil. Here it was the contrary, oil relaxed more than water, but here water relaxed more than oil. So this is, if you look carefully and on this pore system, and if you make the electronic spin resonance, you see the 6th line due to the hyperfine structure of the manganese. And the manganese has a huge paramagnetic moment that enhances drastically the rate. The other thing is you have a structure now. You have what we call the NMRD profile. Instead of no frequency, you have a frequency dependence that we have to understand. And you have something that is close to a bilogarithmic dependence here. And so the fact that the NMRD profile are completely different for water and oil prove that the physical chemistry matters on pore surface, because water is a protic liquid that can exchange their proton with a silanol group on the surface, and oil has only CH3 group and cannot exchange their proton. So we have very important effect of physical chemistry, but now providing that you can make a modeling of this observation. So I want to introduce now 2 main steps in the modeling of this proton relaxation rate. And the first, when you are in presence of a liquid in a pore system, you have the biphasic phase exchange model, which means that on the time scale of the experiment, you are a fast exchange between 2 transient phases. The bulk one with a very long T1, and we saw about second minus 1, and the surface, which is very small, about millisecond. So you have a biphasic exchange between bulk and surface population on the NMR time scale, and providing that the times of residence on the surface or the time of exchange is very small compared to the minimum T1. So we have 1 T1 and 2 transient phases. So in case of a mono-exponential result, 1 over T1, that the overall 1 over T1 that depend on the frequency that you observe is a linear combination of the bulk plus the surface contribution. And as we saw, the bulk doesn't depend on the frequency dependence, only the surface contribution depends on the frequency. And the ratio here, this factor is the number of transient liquid molecule on the surface compared to the bulk. So it's proportional to the surface to volume ratio. S is the surface of the pore, V is the volume, and epsilon is the size of the molecule. So if you look at the number, we saw that the bulk is about 0.5 to 1 second minus 1, and the T1 of the surface could be millisecond, so the rate could be 1,000 second minus 1. So all the information, if you measure this, you have information by the frequency dependence on the surface dynamic. So you can observe very rare surface molecular events. You have influence of physical chemistry at pore surface. You have effect of parametric species and effect of confinement and pore geometry. And even if it is rare, because what you measure is not the surface by itself, you measure the magnetization in volume, but due to the biphasic phase exchange, all these rare surface molecular events can be observable. So the consideration, the second step of the modeling is the consideration of confinement and physical chemistry at pore surface. And here is the picture by Degas, and there is a famous phrase of Wolfgang Pauli. He said that God made the bulk, but surface were invented by the devil. And this is precisely what is the statistic dynamics and thermodynamics on the surface are completely different than in a bulk. The confinement of liquids enhance drastically the probability of reencounters between moving proton and fixed parametric source of relaxation. For instance, here, the dancing girl here tried to escape from the parametric impurity, which is fixed, and you have a kind of log-8 problem. And the physical chemistry of liquids at pore surface induce drastic difference on proton exchange and hydrogen bonding. So that's the idea. So now I just want to outline the basic idea of the modeling without going into the detail. You can find all the detail in my papers, but here is just the only theoretical basic is I need diffusive liquid. And you have a surface with a fixed either parametric spin species, or other proton source of relaxation, for instance, salinol group. And you have a moving proton species in the liquid, and with proton, it's a dipolar nuclei, so you have a dipole-dipole interaction that depends on when you have an orientation of the magnetic field here on the spherical harmonic divided by the cube of the distance. So you have several random variables, but the first thing to say is the system is isotropic, so the average of the dipole-dipole interaction is 0, because you can put this vector everywhere in the space. The average is 0, but not the pairwise average. If you look the dipole interaction on different time scale, original time scale and just a later time scale of the order of a few picoseconds, the ensemble average of all the molecules is different than 0. You have a time dependence, and it's a stationary process, so it's not the time that occurs here, but the duration of a single step, for instance. And if you consider an ergodic system, you can replace this ensemble average over an integral average over, for example, a diffusion equation. So P is the probability for this particle to move from a position R to a position R0 at the origin of time to a position R at a later time tau. And then at infinite of time, this probability tends to the usual density of the fluid. And you integrate over the whole space, the angular and radial space. D is the Euclidean dimensionality, and P is the solution of a diffusive equation. So I just want to stay on very simple diffusive equation, and where P is a Gaussian. So in a Gaussian, you have two parts. You have the prefactor here, and you have the argument R minus R0 is the distance in a time tau. And usually R minus R0 is a few nanometer, because remember that the correlation behaves as the inverse of the 6th power of the distance. So each time you multiply by 2 the distance, you divide by 64 the interaction. So this number is very small. The denominator here is the length of diffusion. So if you consider the regular diffusive coefficient of 10 minus 5 centimeters squared per second, and for tau a millisecond or so, you find that this number is a micrometer. So the ratio is almost 0. So P is just, you have a very simplification of the propagation of the propagator here, which is just the inverse of this number, 4 pi d tau at the power d over 2. And if you look for a diffusive liquid, starting from this, the mean square displacement is proportional to the time. So from this mean square displacement, you can create a volume of the random walker explored by the moving particle in a time tau, is the mean square displacement at the power d divided by 2. So this volume behaves as the time at the power d divided by 2. So if you come back to what is NMR relaxation, we need to have a time dependence of the correlation function. And we assume that because of the distance 1 over R6, what is very important for the relaxation is the occurrence of the position of this spin in first neighbor to the source of relaxation. So This means that at long time, the probability to re-encounter, so the probability that this distance between these two spins are 0 in a time tau is inversely proportional to the volume visited by this random worker, and then is inversely proportional to the time at the power d divided by 2. So now there is a drastic effect of the low dimensionality on this rate, because if you look this time dependence of the pair correlation function and is 1 over tau at the power d divided by tau. So I represent here the system when you have a 1D system or 2D system or 3D system. You have to correct this function, because when tau divided 10 to 0, there is a divergence. So it's easy to make g of 0 equal 1, because you need that this process of relaxation, there is a finite power for the system. So you should have 1 here. And you have also another limit after a certain time that called tau s, the particle never come back and escape. So in this range between tau m and tau s, tau m is the time scale for a single step, a few picoseconds, and tau s would be microsecond or nanosecond or microsecond. You can make the Fourier transform of this rate, of this decay, and you observe, providing that as I said, g of 0 is 1, so that the g of 0, all these curves for different dimensionality, the surface area is 1. And you can observe different expression of the spectral density. The surface area is the same, but you have a 1 over square root of omega, you have a logarithmic frequency, and then a plateau here. So what is important is in the frequency range of the field cycling, which is between kilohertz and 40 megahertz, that's the range of field cycling. So field cycling in MRD is very sensitive to the low dimensionality. And this is the domain where you observe also the surface effect. And also you can separate on this at low frequency, the bulk and surface dynamics. So that example now, I consider successively aprotic liquids, for instance, acetone. Aprotic liquid does not mean non-polar, because acetone is highly polar, but cannot exchange. You have CH3 group, cannot exchange their proton with a selenol group on the surface, for instance. So in bulk, we know that we have a plateau here. And in confinement, in micropore, I have a system that we can create by the synthesis of this chromatography porous silica glasses of 75 angstrom diameter. We measure the density of impurity, parametric impurity by ESR. And what we observe here is a bilogarithmic dependence for different temperature. When you increase the temperature, the rate decreases. That proves that the fluid is diffusive. And so we have a bilogarithmic frequency profile. And if you apply the formula, a complete formula where the specific surface area matters, the density of liquid, everything, and the density of parametric impurity, you can measure the correlation time for a single hopping at the surface, and then the inverse is the surface diffusion, which appears to be 1/10 of the bulk diffusion. It is interesting also to represent the same information on an Arrhenius plot. So here it's the 1 over tau, so the rate that depends on the inverse of temperature for different frequency, and you observe the normal temperature behavior typical of an activated weak adsorption. So this modeling has only 2 parameters: the time for a single hopping at the surface and the time of residence at the surface. And the ratio is important because we introduce this ratio as a dynamical surface affinity index is the time scale over which, or the number of steps corresponding to the time scale over which the particle on the surface leave definitively the surface. So it's a kind of information on the NMR wettability. And now I'm going to the protic liquid, for instance, water, in bulk and micropore. Still in bulk. Something very important here is if you look the result at large frequency, you see that the result merge with the result in confinement. So that proves that, as I say, in large frequency, the length of diffusion is very small. and you observe only the bulk diffusion. If you want to see the observation of the surface effect, the dynamic of the surface, you should go to the low frequency. So that's very important. And still for the bulk water, you observe the same thing. At large frequency, you cannot see the surface effect. You should go to a very low frequency where you have a drastic enhancement of the relaxation rates due to the presence of the parametric impurity. But there is something more here, is the frequency dependence, which is not B logarithmic, but 1 over the square root of frequency. Even if it is the same system, the same porous system, but we change the nature of the liquid. And also there is something else. If you look on the temperature, if you increase the temperature, then what is a paradoxical seemingly result is the rate increase. So that's a paradoxical result, because as the T1 is proportional to the diffusivity, it seems that the diffusivity decrease when you increase the temperature. On the other hand, at large frequency, you observe the normal diffusive behavior. So we better see this anomalous effect when you see in Arrhenius plot. At large frequency, the temperature dependence of 1 over T1 behave as usual, with the slope is the activation energy of 4.8 kilocalorie per mole. But when you decrease the frequency, you reverse and you have a negative activation energy. And to understand that, you should look on the schematic diagram of the surface diffusion process close to the silynyl group. You have the silynyl group and then the ferric ion substitute to the silicon here. And what is moving, nothing moves except that the labyl hydroxyl group move here up to a point where it dissolves and then going to relocation to another site and so on. So in that case, for water, it's an intramolecular relaxation induced by reorientation mediated by translation with intermittence at the pore surface. And we introduce from this the fact that the diffusive coefficient is not anymore a normal diffusivity, but an effective diffusivity, where the slope is the difference between the normal diffusion activation energy and the surface interaction. It's not pure diffusive, it's diffusion with interaction. And because the energy of interaction of the water molecule with the surface is about 10 times kT, this number is larger than this one, and you have a negative value here. And with Pierre Levitz, we introduced a theory that explained this 1 over square root of a frequency, that a parameter now is the time of residence on the surface, which appears to be a nanosecond on pore surface. So the anomalous temperature behavior at low frequency proved that you have an hydrogen bonding at the pore surface. So you see that the same pore system, but with aprotic or protic liquid, you have different information, and you have a unique modeling that proves that in one case, you move on the at proximity to the surface without bonding, and on the other hand, you can bond. And there is a spectacular result that we observe with Bryant. The same porous system, but we change the weightability. Usually with a salinate system, we have the normal behavior, logarithmic behavior with this normal effect. But because with water, salinate means that the water becomes non-weighting. And we saw before that usually water is weighting, and we observe with the non-salinated the 1 over square root and the anomaly. So the same liquid, changing just the physical chemistry, you can change the NMRD profile with a weighting liquid and a non-weighting liquid, even if it is water, which is known to be a weighting liquid. And what is interesting also is now we change the size of the pore. We use a macroporous granular packings of silicon carbide of 8 micron. And this system are not porous. The porosity is just the intergrain. And we have 8 micron meter. And still we observe the same thing for oil, a non-weighting Arrhenius plot, and for water, a weighting liquid with this inversion of the slope. So we prove that this process, even if it is macropore, very large value of the pore, what is important is the physical chemistry on first neighbor of the surface. So we have a scale invariance of relaxation process, either the surface diffusion for the oil when there is no interaction, or the surface diffusion and hydrogen bonding at pore surface for a wetting liquid. So now I will skip to the second part of the lecture, which is application to cement-based material. So that's very important because it's a cementitious material, or for example, concrete is one of the most popular products sold in the world. 1 cubic meter per human being, you can imagine the amount of, and 10% of the CO2 is due to the cementitious material. So there is a paradigm of cementitious material, which is the cementitious is heterogeneous multi-scale material, has different property at different length scale. Here is a MEB image of the grain, which is about 8 micrometer here. The intergrain, the pore, capillary, what we call capillary pore. And after a day, for instance, or few hours, you have the water create some CSH, some link between these grain, and that's the setting. So you have also the pore scale here is very large. Capillary pore, more than 50 nanometer. Then if you look carefully with a transmitted electron microscopy, you have 2 scale. You have inside, you go inside this CSH, this hydrate. You have the scale 2, which is the inter-CSH porosity corresponding to defects of packing of CSH nodule between 6 and 50 nanometer. And then the intra-scale, which is the inside the CSH corresponding to interlamellar layer structure of CSH below 6 nanometer. So it is interesting that we know that the cement is a disordered material, but not on the tiny length scale. And the NMR spectroscopy of silicon proved this lamellar structure here. So that's and if you make, for instance, a cement paste after a few minutes in a tube and in the stellar machine, so you have a porous system with the same system with a bulk water and the surface contribution because you have a ferric ion, that's the SR of cement paste, ferric ion on G = 4 and manganese on G = 2. And the modeling is the one that I introduced before, the 2D diffusion on the surface and escape. So you have only 2 time scale here, the time for hopping and the time of residence. So that the biphasic exchange and you observe this bilogarithmic and then the bulk. Now you have another process here. There is a possibility that the water molecule can be bound for a while on the ferric ion. Nothing moves, but even you have a very important effect of relaxation, which is called nuclear parametric relaxation. That creates this green bump at 60 megahertz, and that's typical of what you observe in a contrast agent, for instance. The origin of the motion here, there is no motion, but just the electronic T1, the Z direction of the electronic spin move during this time scale of residence, and that's create this bump. So you have 2 different processes, but you can separate because this one gives you a bilogarithmic dependence at low frequency. This one gives you a bump at 60 megahertz. And then you have another process because if you go on the other sense in frequency, you reach the cutoff at 22 kilohertz that corresponds to the line width of a solid state. And then you have to make this, you have a cross relaxation between the proton, the solid proton, and the water proton. So that's what you expect, a plateau, and then the bilogarithmic, and then the bump. So that's the interesting of doing field cycling is you can study some property of in time. You can make, for instance, that's the museum, the reactive powder concrete, ductile from Lafarge, and you can see the progressive setting of microstructure and proton spatial surface dynamics. So here is the situation after a few minutes, 47 minutes. You see, instead of 1 second in a bulk, you have 100 seconds here. And then after the dormant period, you have you see the system evolve, the NMRD profile evolve up to 500 and more after only 8 hours. And then after it's impossible to see any observable because the amount of liquid water is only 5% after this amount of time. So if you apply now the biphasic phase exchange, you have the bulk that we know was about 3 seconds. And here now you have the frequency dependent that seems to be b-logarithmic here, and then the surface to volume that changed because at each time of hydration you observe the same frequency dependence. So what is going here is the plateau give you how the specific surface area change in time. So the interest of this experiment then is to measure, if you measured only because we have otherwise people said that during this experiment, the kinetics of the system change. And even if you go very fast, you need to make these 50 values of frequency, you need 47 minutes. So if you measure only this point here, 10 kilohertz, you can observe the dormant period and then the setting and then the evolution up to infinite of time because the system never reached equilibrium. And that's the specific surface area. And that's one of the parameters important for the cement industry to control the microstructure. So to be sure that the frequency dependent, whatever the time scale of hydration is the same, we have renormalized all these frequency dependence for various time of hydration, and that proved the unicity. That's very important to prove the unicity of the relaxation model due to surface dynamic. All these curves that we saw before merge to a single, pardon? No, all the curves merge to a single one that proves the unicity of the model, which is the PD water diffusion. And we have a very simple, with only one parameter, the time scale of this hopping is 1 nanosecond. And it turns out that now we change the system for concrete to white cement, where the amount of ferric ion is very low, and or for ordinary Portland cement, where you have about 2% of ferric oxide. And here, when you increase the amount of ferric ion, you start to see the bump here due to the nuclear parametric relaxation. So it seems to be universal result because you have still the b-logarithmic dependence. Even of the complexity of the system, you have a very simple explanation of this field cycling. And knowing this value of a single step time scale, you can find the surface diffusion coefficient. This is the size of the molecule square divided by 4 times the correlation time. That gives you 10 minus 7 centimeters square per second, which is about 2 orders of magnitude smaller than in the bulk. And that's confirmed the molecular dynamic simulation of several people. So in presence of a cement, the dynamic of water is very slow. And that's limited for the first 24 hours, but we succeed with Nicolas Lequeux to observe for not cement paste, but for a single phase of C3S, which is very simplified cement, and limiting the amount of ferric ion to only 0.05%. The water to cement ratio is 0.4, 1 year age. And in that case, it's not anymore an exponential, but you have 4 different correlation time that could be renormalized to a single one. So we have several pores and the same NMRD. That's the experiment in log-log plot. That's the theory that we showed before, but in semi-log. And we can renormalize, and the renormalization, the factor that renormalize give you the ratio of pore size is between 2 nanometer, 5 nanometer, 50 nanometer. So it's surprising that even if the system is continuous, because that's normal for a cement paste or concrete, the organization of the pore are discrete. So you have an anisotropic dynamics of water at the surface of the CSH pore and hierarchy of pore size. So the second application I want to show you is petroleum industries. This is very important because even now the petroleum is very cheap. it's very important that 80% of the energy depends on the crude oil, for instance. So the first question we ask is, why measuring accurately saturation in rock core? Why is it important? So we have a carbonate reservoir rock that's specially designed for the stellar machine. You have a 1-inch size and 30% porosity, 700 millidarcy permeability. And the question we ask is that's the MEB, that's the organization of the pore. And what we are interested, the volume of oil in place is equal to the volume of rock multiplied by the porosity. This is very easy to measure in the lab, but multiplied by the saturation. In other words, how much water, how much oil. So that's important. If you know the saturation, you know the oil petroleum resource in the field. So the first thing to do is taking a rock core, filling with brine. Brine is water plus salts, and measure at a given frequency. You have a magnetization decay, make the Laplace inversion, and then you have a bimodal distribution. So on this case, because T1 is proportional to the volume to surface ratio, so in other words, to the pore size. So you are sure that it is a small pore and that's the large pore, but you don't know if you have water or oil. The second thing that you should know is the source of relaxation. And by doing electronic spin resonance, you evidence the 6th line of the manganese. And you know the number of manganese per gram. Knowing the density, you have the number of manganese per cubic centimeter, and with an assumption of uniform distribution, you can observe the surface distribution. So that the first result you observe with aprotic dodecane, for instance. We fill the system with dodecane, and what we observe is that the theory for, remember the theory, and that the experiment, you have a bimodal NMRD profile, the large pore, the small pore, we know the specific surface area, you have a factor 10, and it's possible to renormalize and obtain the same NMRD for all the, when you superpose the two, you change the rate of this one multiplied by the ratio of the specific surface area. So you have the same physics, the same NMRD profile. That is the unicity of the model proved that there is a surface diffusion. So aprotic dodecane is characterized by a degree of dynamical surface affinity, which appear to be A tau S over tau M, about this one, 130, related to microscopic wettability, very low. Now, if you repeat the same experiment, but now filled with protic liquid, brine, so exactly, you observe something completely different. What you observe is something that is due to nuclear parametric relaxation. Water is bound for a while on the manganese, nothing moves, and then you have exactly the result that you observe in the contrast agent, the plateau, and then the bump. And the same physics for if you renormalize the data for the whole pore. So the theory has been done in '61 by Blombergen. So you can evidence. Now, what is interesting is going to the pore system as received. So in that case, you have 2 pores and 2 liquids. And measuring, you observe that the shape of the NMRD of dodecane is typical of the 2D diffusion, and the shape of the brine is typical of the very weighting nuclear parametric relaxation. So in that case, the NMRD becomes a true fingerprint of the process that induced relaxation. So you observe that the small pore are filled by water and strongly water wet, and the big pore are filled by dodecane, and with a weighting very weak of 130. So if you repeat the same experiment now, so you can identify the small bump here is brine, and the large bump is dodecane at large T1. And if you integrate this, you find the proportion of dodecane and brine. And if you repeat at different frequency, you observe the same physics. 80% of the liquid is dodecane and 20% of the brine. So you answer with this technique one of the fundamental questions that asked by the petroleum industry is the you know the irreducible saturation of water. That appears to be 20 or 22%. And also you evidence, that because you have on the same system with the two liquid, two different NMRD profile, you evidence also a pore size dependence of wettability. The wettability is different on the large pore and on the small pore. So now, going to more complicated liquid, I'm going to study the crude oil. And crude oil, and the object is probing dynamics of hydrocarbons in crude oil. And in crude oil is you have the presence of it's one of the most complicated liquid that exists on Earth. You have more than 100,000 different molecules. And you have, for instance, in this the system that we use, you have 9% in weight of asphaltene. Asphaltene is still a mystery, but basically it's this molecule where you have heterogeneous, you have sulfur, nitrogen, oxygen here. It's a planar molecule with a core shell, and this molecule can aggregate. You can have 5 or 6 different molecules that core shell nanoaggregate with a shell made of aliphatic chain. You have aliphatic chain here, presenting a roll around the aromatic core. And Joël Essautier and Pierre Levitz find the structure factor and the size of this system, of this nanoaggregate, by small angle X-ray scattering and small angle neutron scattering, and find this 35 angstrom here. And also, people, if you, the aggregation is not only on this nanoaggregate, but the nanoaggregate or aggregate also in macro aggregate of 12 nanoaggregate, 12 to 15, no more. So Mullins from Schlumberger show that this heterogeneous liquid is, you have the molecule on the nanometer range, then on nanometer the nanoaggregate, and then the cluster. So if you look carefully at this, it looks like a transient porous medium. You have the tiny hydrocarbons can move at the surface of this macro aggregate or in between. So even if the system is fluid, for our system, it would, the viscosity is 40 centipoise, it looks like a transient porous media. So as usual, we use the ESR to evidence the source of relaxation, which is vanadine. You have the 8 lines in our system of 9% asphaltene. And with the chemist of Total, we try to leave from all the vanadine. So the chemist said there is no vanadine anymore, but according to ESR, you have still 35%, because the sensitivity of this 5%, this 35% is still present here. You reduce, you can see here, if you integrate these two lines, that the effect of taking out most of the vanadine. And we met with Gourier, David Gourier, yes, the 2D ESR spectrum of the vanadine, and we proved that it is coupled, the electronic spin is coupled to 4 nitrogen. That is typical of a metal porphyrin molecule. That's because of the origin of the petrol molecule. That's the origin of the system. Then we double check the source of relaxation by mass spectroscopy. And here, in that case, it's not the vanadium, but with the vanadium. And we proved that 65% of the vanadium behave like the sulfur, this heteroatom that is present in the asphaltene. So we proved that the vanadium belongs to the asphaltene and the asphaltene belongs to the porphyrin. And we localized the vanadine by molecular dynamic simulation with Santos Silva. And because the vanadine is in the plane, but the oxygen is perpendicular to the plane, so it's not possible to be in this in between two nanoaggregates. Is at the surface. So it's very important because now you have we can study the dynamics at the surface of this system. So we use also some experiment that is very well known in petroleum industry is the chromatography in gas or in gel. And we observe that the mole fraction of the chain length from C1, the methane, to C300 you have a very huge log normal distribution of hydrocarbon chain length. And it turns out that 18% are C8, the octane. And what is surprising, if you make the T2, the distribution of T2 or distribution of T1 a different frequency, you observe exactly the same distribution. So the similar large distribution of T2 and T1. So that proves that the dynamics depend on the hydrocarbon chain length. So the problem now, if you want to make field cycling, you have a large distribution. You don't have one T1, it's not anymore an exponential. You have a distribution of T1. So usually in petroleum industry, if you have a log normal distribution, we pick one point here, not the peak here, but a peak that is representative of the whole distribution is what we call the log mean. And if you plot the log mean over the frequency that the NMRD data for different amount of asphaltene, for 9% you have a very large dispersion, and the dispersion decreases when you decrease the amount of asphaltene, up to 0% where you have a normal rotation of like in a bulk. And if you apply the same theory than before, the bilogarithmic dependence, you can pick the 8 nanosecond corresponding to the, so it's interesting to see the modeling here is very simple. You have the nano aggregate here, and according to the dimension here, the rotation is very low, 1 microsecond, but according to this modeling here, we find so 1 microsecond for the rotation and 8 nanoseconds. So on the time scale of this experiment, this particle is quite immobile. And we can estimate the time of residence, about nanosecond, and knowing the time tau m, you have the surface diffusion, which is very small. We have the length of excursion on this system that corresponds exactly of the size that is found from the SACS and SUN. So now Schlumberger studied the effect of the viscosity for a very large viscosity. They observe not anymore a bilogarithmic dependence, but something which is square root of frequency. And then I consider here another modeling where you have the rotation of the macro aggregate of asphaltene, which is very small, and the 1 over square root of tau due to this quasi 1D. And then we found we can explain the frequency dependence here. So now I'm going to go to very important application. For instance, this is a relation because usually the people use NMR in logging experiment to find some state variable typical to identify if it is oil or water. So for that, because T1 and T2 are not state variable, that's NMR variable, even if it is log mean, we need to relate this T1 and T2 to some state parameter, which is viscosity. For a very large set of crude oil from 1 centipoise to 1 million centipoise. So we have a collection of data from George Irazaki, Benjamin Nico, and so on. And we observe here for T1 and for T2, at very small viscosity, you observe the Stockenstein that T1 and T2 are proportional to the inverse of viscosity. So that's the normal rotation effect. And then T2 doesn't depend on the frequency, but T1 depends drastically on the frequency and evolve to a plateau. That's the plateau at 2 megahertz at 23 and 80. So how could you explain this value? So we come back to the original paper of Blumbergen, Purcell, et Pound, where he found that the viscosity effect goes like that for T1, is the 1 over the viscosity, and then the viscosity here. This is absolutely not what we observe here. So it's not possible to fit this dissymmetry here because even with the distribution of correlation time. With my theory, with only 2 parameters, tau m and tau s, I can fit the data and explain the system at weak viscosity or at large viscosity by this, and explain why you observe this plateau and the viscosity effect. So that's important because you measure T1 and T2 by NMR logging in wells, and then according to this modeling, you can make an in situ fluid typing because the viscosity of water and oil are different. So the last application that I want to discuss today is a biological sample. And with Bob Bryant, we study different systems And the most simple result system is what we call the vesicle, or the hyposome or vesicle. And we put this vesicle in heavy water, but where you have only, even if it is heavy water, you have still 0.5% or 1% of proton in that you can detect. And that's the result that you observe for the experimental result. And if you look the number now, this experiment cannot be made on field cycling because you have very small, very long value of T1. So we need to change the machine and go to a shuttle machine where we move the sample between a 300 megahertz and electromagnet and go and back and go. And then you have to explain why it is a logarithmic dependence. Because now the theory is not anymore a 2D system. It's not a flat system. It's a spherical system. So you study the residual proton on this HOD. So you have D2O everywhere. And then in this lamella, you have the lipid proton here that interact with this HOD. And with the Denis Grebenkoff, we introduced the complete theory that is detailed in this paper. And changing the parameter important is the length of this layer, of this multi-layer system compared to the radius here. And when the delta is 100 times smaller than the radius of this system, you reach the probability for this proton to reach, this moving proton to reach this other proton inside goes as the inverse of time scale. So the Fourier transform of 1 over time scale is a logarithmic, so we can apply a simplified 2D theory that is the same than before, and find that in this bilayer system, the correlation time for, or the translational diffusion is very long, 70 picoseconds instead of 7 picoseconds. So we have a very slow 2D dynamics of water at the interface of phospholipid. This alters significantly the time scale for control reaction in this system. So now we increase the complexity. We study dynamics of water at the surface of protein. And people say that the origin that the dynamics of water were ice-like. And that's completely not true because it's a living system. The diffusivity of water is not anymore the bulk, but something different. And we study different proteins, bovine serum albumin, lysozyme, ribonuclease in solution in water. And we study different solutions in light water, or because in light water you have both intra and intermolecular, and in residual proton in heavy water. And still we observe this logarithmic frequency, but look, with this machine, we explore now between 30 megahertz and 300 megahertz. And because we have this system with H2O, we can measure the correlation time between the two moving particles, which appear to be 15 picoseconds, and with the HOD, we have the other one, the interaction between the relaxation of this proton to this, in interaction with this one, or the solid proton, and we find the factor 2. So the two particles move relative translation diffusion constant is the sum for each particle. So we find what is in all the textbooks, compare when you have the absolute diffusion and the relative diffusion, you have factor 2. And from this, we found that the surface diffusion of water at the surface of a protein is 1/3, is not 0, is not the bulk one, but is 1/3. And that seems to be general of all these systems. So now we increase the complexity, and it's not anymore a protein, but it's a living material. It's not anymore living, but it's because we study different tissue coming from an exquisite. So we sacrifice the rat and take the NMRD of the liver, of the kidney, of the tide. And we had 6 different tissues, make the superposition, because, and then we apply this. So compared to before, we had to add another process at low frequency, which is the contribution of the macromolecule, diffusion of the liquid of the water at the surface of macromolecule, which appear to be a power law. And from this, we found the translational diffusion coefficient at the surface of this pore. And the last example is not anymore field cycling, but is in vivo MRI prepared by a T1 experiment, but at different frequency, from 0.2 Tesla to 7 Tesla with volunteer, living volunteer. And the idea is with this image, you have a very important contrast at 0.2 Tesla, even if it is very long to make the acquisition of this image. And the aim is to estimate the diffusive coefficient of the different tissue. You have different tissue of human brain from the T1 of frequency measured at different Larmor frequency or different magnetic field. And basically, even if we have 10 different tissue in this image, I succeed to renormalize these different tissue in two categories, the white matter and the gray matter. And the white matter has a rate that is larger than the white matter, than the gray matter. And as before, we interpret the data with this simple theory where you consider the dynamic of water at the surface of macromolecule, or the dynamic of macromolecule itself, or the dynamic of the liquid at the surface, what we call the cephalorachidien liquid. And we found that the correlation time of the white matter that corresponds to the axon is 3 times the correlation time of the gray matter. That is 60% of the brain is composed of liquid in neuron. In agreement, so this result, this factor 3, is in agreement with diffusion MRI of Le Bihan, for instance. So in conclusion, I can tell you that I think that I convince you that this field cycling is very important to study, and we propose several non-invasive experiment and modeling of T1 of frequency in microporous material, allowing probing non-invasively dynamical parameter. We succeed to separate different liquid and also to measure the local wettability at pore surface. And also it's possible to use this system to measure the water diffusion at protein surface, and also to measure the water diffusion in biological tissue. If you want to learn more and all the detail, you can see this review paper I did in 2018. So I would like to thank you for your attention, and I'm ready to ask you some questions.